Patty, what do you think will work? Like, what's your suggestion? The breakout rooms or what?
I think the breakout, if with the numbers that we have, and if people are all present, the breakout rooms would work great. But it just depends if you guys want to do like 2 or 3, like if we can. I have to see how many numbers we have. I don't mind. We're doing different interventions, so there's maybe 12 of them. So I'd like to kind of see what people can bring before we discuss them, because I think the value is in our own experiences, right? And I think everybody's tired of listening to someone telling them what to think and do. So I don't know about you, but like I like to hear what's going on in people's lives. And there's just so much richness there. So yeah, I'd prefer doing a breakout room. We can do like 2 people every time, and it could be a different person every time, hopefully, because it's random. So you can kind of share the experience, if that works well.
Sounds good.
So we are live. Everyone heard everything you just said, Patty. So, so they could probably use that as a great measuring stick to see how interesting the talk's going to be.
Sure.
But anyways, so let me just get things going. Welcome everybody to our crew meeting. We are on week 4 of the crew and the pursuit of happiness. Welcome, welcome. Today we have Patty Ibrahim, resiliency trainer and absolute fantastic person. She's going to take us on today through like a little thought process workshop type thing. And yeah, we're all really looking forward to what she's got in store for us. Patty, if you want to talk about yourself a little and maybe tell people how to reach you, be it offline or online, that would be great.
Sure. So hi, everybody who's here and everybody who's online, but not really here or partly here. So my name is Patty Ibrahim. I am a pharmacist by training, and I've over the years specialized in psychiatric and geriatric pharmacy. So I was mostly in the mental health sector for the last 8 years. And during that time, just being challenged by the the emotional burden of being a healthcare professional and seeing a lot of chronic conditions of suffering, I was inclined to look into or study things like positive psychology and resilience training. And I don't know how many people have attended the presentation by Dr. Christine, I think Agabi. I think that's her last name. I think me and Sam get them confused. Yes.
That was her.
Thank you. The last name is a little bit off for me, but I've attended her a lecture of hers last March. Again, it was probably 7 days before the lockdown and 2 days after my last presentation at SMSB. And I was so floored. I didn't even know we had that expertise in the Coptic community. I was just so excited to meet her. She's wonderful and she has such a wealth of knowledge. So it's just, I was looking forward to actually connecting deeper with her a little bit about our common interest. But time has not yet come, but hopefully in the future we can do that. So yeah, so positive psychology is the study of subjective well-being, which has to do with how you experience well-being. And the popular name is the science of happiness. I think often some people don't really prefer that terminology because it assumes that everything has to be well for you to be happy. And I think that's how the culture sells happiness. But I like subjective well-being better because it means that whether things are good or bad or difficult or challenging, you have a sense of serenity and calmness as you face your challenges, right? Like life is going to happen and we don't want to demonize the bad events because they're there to challenge us, to help us grow, they're part of living, like it's how you kind of like build your resilience muscles. So yeah, positive psychology focuses on that, and resilience training just gives me some skills to know how to kind of communicate some of these things in workshops and find a way to focus on the good stuff so you guys can learn skills that help you cope. And that's basically it. I do both things. I'm a pharmacist and I'm a resilience trainer. And so far it has not been so bad of a journey. It's been quite interesting. Okay, so if we're okay to start, Summer, I'm just gonna share my screen. Okay. Okay.
It's all you.
Okay, it's yeah, I love when we were talking earlier and you're like, yeah, you can take over the show. I'm like, thanks. That's all I want to do. Okay, here we go. So let me know if you can't see anything clearly. So we'll start with our little I'll just start to kind of introduce things. So basically what I'm going to do is it's a basic guide to flourishing under pressure. And when I talk about flourishing, it's the term we use to talking about growth under stress, but growth in general and positive growth, right? Where it's like you feel like you're moving towards feeling more like yourself. You can express yourself. You can live the life you want and be present in life the way you want to be present. Okay. So instruction for use. So this is what I want you to think about when we're talking about these topics and these interventions. So this is a guide only as effective as you wish it to be. There are tools here that are not necessarily new. So I'm not providing you with new tools to use in your life. I'm just here to help you refocus your attention on the tools you've had all along and maybe you've forgotten. Okay. So resilience is innate. We all have it. It's something that we're born with. I think oftentimes, depending on pressures, the environment, the messages that we're getting, we lose focus of what we're capable of and what we can do to kind of survive and grow and move forward in life. Okay, so it basically just means it's just a means with which to orient your mind, your heart, and your spirit towards the good, and which was, is, and will always be there, right? There's so much blessings in life, and there's so many things that we have that oftentimes we just lose focus. We don't notice them as much. So I've already given the introduction. So we're going to skip this one. So let's talk about the well-being formula. So the well-being formula, or the happiness formula, is actually made out of 3 components. The your biological set point, which is your genetics. So some people are genetically more endowed with certain skills, whether certain things physiologically that makes them healthy. So let's say vitality-wise, they have more energy, they have the right structure for certain sports or whatever. Some people have biologically a set point for their optimism. So some people tend to biologically be a little bit more optimistic than others, or pessimistic depending on the experiences. But so there's a biological set point that's 50% for your happiness. Okay, there's life conditions and circumstances that affects 10% of your happiness. And then there's voluntary activities you can do to invest in your well-being and happiness, and that's 40%. So I want you to just think about that for a minute, because I think sometimes we don't realize how much we have in our own within our capacity to improve our state. I think we underestimate it, and we sometimes talk about life conditions a little bit too much. And what happens is that we disempower ourselves from having the life that we want, and from facing the challenges that we're faced with, right? So I also want you to orient you to the fact that biological set point, it's 50%, meaning that this is where people sometimes struggle with things like treatment for mental health conditions. So some people are biologically have some challenges in terms of their mood, and those still need to be addressed, right? So you can do voluntary actions. And we know, for example, that if you get psychotherapy for your mood and do resilience skills, those would improve your chances. If you get psychotherapy and you do, you have medications, those improve your chances. Even as medications, we talk about them as being tools for self-improvement and growth and healing, but they're not necessarily the answer. The answer is in learning the skills. And you can't learn skills when you are unmotivated, your mood is down, your energy is down, you're depressed, right? So you have to lift people up and kind of help them along that way. Okay. So, okay, so there's a question here that says, where do we get those numbers for percentages? Are these estimates or studies? Those are studies, Morris. I wish I can say they're estimates. No, they're actually studies. I don't have the actual reference, but those are based on studies. And the positive psychology as a discipline is completely science-based, meaning that they went out of their way to use legitimate scientific studies to prove all of these interventions that I'm going to be mentioning today, because the biggest challenge in psychology in general, when it was a new, positive psychology as a new discipline and psychology to start, is that they needed to come out as a rigor science in order to prove their presence. So a lot of the stats that you will see, or if I mention anything, it's based on studies. These are not estimates, okay? I don't have the study though, so I would have to find it for you and send it to you later. Okay. All right, great. So so let's start with this first question. Whom are you grateful for, and what did they do to impact you positively? Okay. So what I'm going to do right now, guys, is I am going to put you in breakout rooms, and it's only going to take, you have 1 minute each to share your reflection on that question. And again, the question is, whom are you grateful for, and what did they do to impact you positively? Okay. So let's see. Oh, you guys have preset breakout rooms. Samar, I did not realize that. I'm going to recreate that if that's okay.
Go great.
Okay.
It's all yours.
Thank you. So I'll try to give you a warning at the 1 minute mark. So if each of you in the room just share your thoughts about gratitude and people who positively impact you, that would be okay. All right.
Shall we join right now? I know
Yes.
it's a stupid questions, but usually I go there and find myself alone. Okay.
No, try it. If not, text. If not, send me a chat.
Sure. I'm joking. Okay.
I love that. Andy and Christine, are you guys joining? Andy, are you joining? Oh my gosh. What happened? Where did you go?
I was still here. I was just doing some stuff.
That's okay. Sorry, guys. I think I actually had it too short for you to actually have. I'm still trying to.
Well, it was rapid fire, but because I actually thought it was 1 minute, so it looks like it was 2 roughly.
No, yeah, no. Oh, so okay. So you actually had more time. That's great.
Well, yeah, but it was quick. But yeah, just let us know. Is it going to be like 2 minutes always? Just so we know. That's
So
all.
we'll do it at least two to 3 minutes. I'll try to time it next time. I was just waiting for people to come into the room, and I wanted to have them start. So I closed the room, but I realized I gave you a 1 minute warning instead by closing the room. So that was my mistake.
That's okay. So there was
so-
about 6 people per room, right? I think so. Okay.
Okay, is that what you guys had? 6 people per room?
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I need to do it so two per room next time, so you can have time to share. So my mistake.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm testing on you. Best
That's
part
okay,
of
no
positive psychology is experimentation. So welcome to my world.
It was fun.
I don't know how
All
I
right.
feel about being a guinea pig.
All right, so let's talk about this. Gratitude. Can someone share with me a story or experience where someone has done something that they're extremely grateful for? It doesn't have to be something big. It can be something very simple.
I can go.
Yeah.
Just last week, Jammer, Christine, and I have been working on the series. Just last week, I was going through a rough time, and they both stepped in and helped me out a lot, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love when people come in and just they're like a support system. That's awesome. Everything feels a little bit lighter when you have like a sense of community and support that way. Awesome. Anyone else has anything else that they want to share that they thought is worth that they'd like to share with the group?
I can share.
Yeah, Amira, yeah, go for it.
Yes, I'm thankful because I today got my second dose of the vaccine. So I'm thankful that I did it with my friend Beher. He happens to be the pharmacist. So he helped me like speed up the process and administered it to me very smoothly without any issues. So everyone, you're more than welcome to, if you have any chance to get the second dose, get it as soon as possible. And it should be without any issues.
Shameless
Good job, Amir.
promotion. Shameless promotion for Beher, right?
No,
Vaccine and for Beher.
not for Bear, but
And
Do we have
but
any
FYI,
vaccines
I
still
mean,
available?
yes, exactly.
That's the real
just so
question
you know,
now.
this
Do
is
we
what
have
this
any
man
still
looks
available?
like. This
Exactly.
Lovely, lovely.
Don't bother
This is
him.
shameless promotion. Sure, take my screen time to talk about the vaccine. Sure, I'm okay with that. That's cool.
No. Take the second dose generally because people are still in doubts like about the second doses for some, even though they already took the first dose.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm encouraging everyone to take it. Yeah.
All right. I'm okay with a little bit of shameless promotion. Okay, so thank you for sharing that as well. So why did we do that exercise? So it's important for us to kind of think about gratitude and the place it has really in our lives, right? So what we know is that when you express gratitude, you focus your attention on the blessings in the present and you savor those of the past. So in terms of how the brain works, we do have something called the negative bias, and that allows us to pay attention to what's not working so we can protect ourselves and plan ahead and all of that. They've actually found in the research there is a positive bias for those who are, how would you say it kindly, unrealistically optimistic or foolishly optimistic. I don't know. I don't like the idea of foolishly optimistic, but sometimes we assume that people who are optimistic are just, they're not looking at things straight. But they found in the research that when you focus on gratitude and you focus on the positives and have hopes and dreams for the future, and are grateful for the present, what it does is that it shifts your energy, and then you see more opportunity. So it actually broadens your vision of possibilities. So gratitude is a great exercise, and there's, in terms of scientific studies, in terms of how to do a gratitude exercise, one example is to do a gratitude journal where you write down 3 to 5 things, specific things that have happened to you once a week. Just sit down, write 3 or 5 specific things that have happened to you for which you're grateful for, or things that necessarily you can be grateful for that didn't really happen to you, but you've experienced, like, the sunset or the rain or something like that. It could be something very mundane, or it could be something very specific and grand, right? So one way to do it is the gratitude journal. those are found to be over time very effective in orienting you towards the positive and improving your sense of hope and optimism, and also engaging your ability to see opportunity instead of seeing more barriers and blocks in your present time. The second exercise you can do is an exercise known as the gratitude expression exercise. So I call them exercises, but really that's life. You know, if someone does something nice, say it out loud. And basically they found that if someone has done you a favor and you are grateful, the more you express it, whether in words, whether in words or in let's say letters, texting, by phone call, by a visit, the more you do that, the more you savor the experience of gratitude. And in savoring the experience, again, you increase your sense that you are blessed and that there is good in the world. So these are 2 exercises to remember to do. And I don't think that these are, new things, but it's things to consider. Every time you feel more hopeless and you feel like maybe things are getting a little bit darker, or you feel alone or isolated, think of the good things that have happened, those who have contributed to them, and reconnect if it helps you relive those moments again. Okay, so share one good thing that happened today and how did it make you feel? So how about this, guys? Because the breakout room might be a little bit, off for me right now. Let's try just a general question for everybody. And the question is, share one good thing that happened today and how did it make you feel? Does anyone have anything that they can think of that happened today that was worth, that they think is nice to share?
I already did my sharing, so I don't have to do it again.
This is not homework, by the way. Okay, I am not here to make you work. I'm here to make you connect, or not to even make you do anything.
In the spirit of homework, Amir Kamel has raised his hand to answer.
All right, we're going back to the breakout room so you guys can you're forced to talk to each other.
No worries, whatever you want, guys. Like whether now or in breakout rooms, in both cases.
Okay, Amir, do you have anything to share, Amir?
Yeah. So actually today I had the chance to connect with some of my friends from back home. And even though I connected with a couple of friends, even though are living here in Canada, and it's been a while, so I loved it, it made me really feel good, grateful that they're still okay, they're still happy, they're still around. It made me happy before they were happy that we're just connected.
Yeah, it just, there's also this wonderful thing called the happiness of anticipation. The anticipation of a reunion, the anticipation of a vacation, the anticipation of something new and exciting, the anticipation of reliving the past with people you love or care about. So that sounds really great. So yeah, that's a great example, Amir. Exactly. So just reconnecting with friends does wonders for your positive energy and just positive emotion in general. Does anyone else have anything to share?
I had something nice happen to me.
Yeah.
So today one of my colleagues gave me this beautiful plant, and it was just lovely, and it totally lifted my spirits. Just, a piece of nature in a pot. It was lovely, and it made me feel appreciated, and it was a great start to the day. So I was very happy, and I thought she's very considerate. So it's nice.
Yeah. I love, it's nice to be surprised. Again, so this brings on something really interesting. So when we talk about the gratitude exercises, it's a double win. When people feel appreciated, when you appreciate someone, you feel like you're contributing to someone's happiness, but also you feel blessed to have them. But when you actually express it, it's the beginning of a lot of stronger pro-social connections, right? So it's great for you, it's great for others, and it's great for building a sense of community. So I'm glad you shared that one. That's great, Amira.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have anything to share before we go to the next one? Not to rush you. I know you guys are all jumping to share of yourself in this session. I can just see it on your faces. At least the faces that I can see. All right. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so let's talk about what is this exercise about? Share one good thing that happened today and how did it make you feel? So this exercise is basically focusing on savoring the good. We need to find creative ways to savor our good, positive emotions, because we don't realize it, but I think oftentimes they're fleeting. And because the negative emotions are often, they linger longer because we need to usually problem solve or overcome them or figure out a life challenge. You notice that we are prone to ruminating and thinking a lot about our problems, but we don't practice thinking a lot about our blessings and thinking a lot about the good and savoring those moments. So good things are happening, but the question is, are you savoring those moments or are they passing you by? So when it comes to savoring, there's different exercises you can do. One example is a savoring album, where it's like you keep track of things shared, thoughts shared with good friends, pictures, moments of gratitude. It's just, or like a savoring journal, you can put it that way. So some people do scrapbooks, some people have albums of pictures of good memories. And it's even more effective if you have that and you write a description of what, let's say you have pictures and you write a description of what happened that was so wonderful about that memory, right? So what you do is that you reinforce the memory, and you reinforce the emotions associated with the memory, right? So for example, Amir's example about seeing his friends and how that felt and so on. If Amir had, let's say, a journal where he writes, his thoughts for the day and whatever, at the end of the day to write down, this happened today and it was great to talk to this person. It felt like we were just when we were younger in high school, and to reminisce, and in those moments, you reinforce the positive emotion, and that keeps your mood elevated, and it keeps you hopeful for more positive experiences in the future. The other thing that an exercise you can do is replay happy days, or think about previous happy moments, right? Oftentimes, when you were children, we often used to daydream, right? Sometimes our daydreams were really just not very productive, good or bad thoughts. It's just, you're just out in space. But to be able to reminisce on an old memory is also great for your emotions, your sense of connection, that you belong or you're appreciated. They're compounded experiences. So savoring is very important. Also, savoring involves things like not just appreciating experience, but appreciating not experience with other people, but just simply appreciating environment. When you go for a walk, do you savor how beautiful, the spring is, the flowers? Do you savor and pay attention to the birds? Just the idea of attuning your attention is very important. Okay, so the next one is there someone in your life who made a big impact with whom you've lost touch? What would you say to them if you had a chance? What do you think, guys? Is this something we can, someone can reminisce on?
I'm assuming we're talking positive.
What, Morris?
So I'm assuming we're talking positive impact, right?
Well, why don't you share your negative impact, and let's see if I can twist it into a positive experience for your sake, like a learning experience.
I'm just gonna put this right back on mute.
Let's assume someone had a big positive impact on your life. Does someone can someone think of a scenario where someone had a big positive impact, whether they influenced the road you've taken or the roads you haven't taken that might have been bad for you, or they were an example or a role model to follow, and you've admired them?
So Amir would like some clarification to the question, which I think you may have already given.
Clarify the question again.
I think it's clear, but yeah, sure, go ahead.
Wait, did you want the clarification or not?
I think he was typing it out
You're the one
after
who typed
clarifying.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Sorry.
I'm not. This is not like in like just for the rest of the class. The rest of the class didn't complain, but you're the one who typed it. So I'd like to know if you. It's okay, Amir. If it's clear enough, then do you have anything that you'd like to add? Does someone have anything they'd like to share? Maybe Andy or Lisa or Christina or Christine or Marianne.
Actually, I would like to share and just to give myself a chance to hear people more. So.
Okay, so Amir is going to share at the end. Anyone else, guys? John or Sam?
So I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
So at the risk of like jumping in while we get to Amir saying his two pieces, what if you happen to be in a position where you don't know, that you've been impacted, but you just don't have any clear memory of who or why?
Yeah.
And what does that really mean?
It doesn't mean anything. I think we think too much. Don't think too much. So I think, you know what? I can speak frankly about myself. I feel like there's been so many examples of my life and in the community of sacrificial love that I have often admired, and it has shaped me, and it has shaped my value and my direction. And I can't pinpoint it to a person. I can think of a few people or a specific example associated with a few people, but maybe my question was misworded in the sense that, oftentimes we don't have one person, but we have characteristics that belong to different people that we've taken and we've internalized as a value because we've seen them done so well, and we wanted to be able to follow in their footstep or carry on that characteristic because it showed such beauty, right? So I'm glad you brought that up. Maybe the question is not about a person, but have you seen, when you see someone do something or exemplify something that you admire deeply and greatly, do you let them know? Have you ever thought of that? Is this something we think about? Do we think about, when we see someone, being a good, whether a good, even a good, good fathers, good mothers, gentle grandparents, when we see people being good leaders or good support system or compassionate caregivers, do we let them know? So that's a question to think about. So I'm glad you brought that up, Samar, because I think in communities that are ours, I don't think we always have one person, because there's such a richness of tradition in terms of the stories of our families, our ancestries and our stories as families, and as persevering, resilient Coptic community. I think the Coptic community is extremely resilient, but we don't talk about the resilience of the Coptic community enough. We talk about survival, but we don't talk about the fact that we are a community that strives and explores different, and that's brave and courageous and has gone to different lands and countries and restarted and support each other. Like it's fascinating. I'm going on a complete tangent right now. Does someone want to jump in? So yeah, I thank Samar for that one.
I have like an old church uncle, a former counselor of mine, on that note, that helped influence my life in a very good way. And just to let him know that you directed me in a very interesting path for my life.
Yeah. Maurice, can you think in what way, what qualities that that you saw in him that allowed you to, that were so you admired?
It's going to sound weird, but peace and art.
Peace and art or heart?
Art.
Art. Art.
Yes, A-R-T.
You don't hear that word often in the Coptic community.
That's exactly why there was such a large impact on my life, is because
That's
it's not
fantastic.
something you would hear often in the Coptic community.
Yeah, not because of anything. I think the Coptic community has a lot of artists. I just don't think we focus on the artistic. As a community,
we don't heavily promote that part.
Yeah, we don't have enough conversations about the humanities and the arts and the but it's so enriching. So that's really cool. I'm glad to hear that. That sounds like it was a unique person who kind of showing you a new perspective on life.
Yes.
Yeah. So the question is there a reason why you haven't told him that you appreciate, or you never thought about it?
It's complicated, but how do I word this? It's like, okay, so it's like someone puts you on a path.
Yes.
You have to finish that path.
Yes.
Before you can go back and thank them.
I don't know if people are around for that long.
You know what? That's true. That's fair.
I think you need to rethink the strategy for us.
This is fair.
I think I agree with your strategy on that one.
What, Andy?
I agree with his strategy on that one. It's like
the award
when you're put on a path, you just to like finish it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm saying I get you, but I think it would be nice to hear words of appreciation before you even get there. You know, even just to have changed the path, that's not easy for anyone. You know, so yeah. But
if I don't appreciate it,
what if you don't appreciate it?
If I don't appreciate it, like, should I complete the path regardless and thank them later, or thank them just in case I'd completed? Or
yeah, that's a good question. So let's just say that for you, the idea of appreciate. So in general, to appreciate, you choose the time, right? But I think you should record these things and remember to at some point express them, because I think we forget how often people have put seeds in they planted such wonderful seeds, and they're not always around to see the harvest, but to know that they contributed in some positive way, especially as uncles and aunts and people in our lives get older, you'd be surprised how much they'd love to hear that, you know, their contributions have made an impact, even if it's just a small thing for now. Maybe in the future it'll be something great, but something small. It really does help lift them up. So thanks, guys. Yeah,
I totally agree with that, with what you're saying. And because the other thing is, if they do pass away, or you know, God forbid, right, that you never said something to them. People live a lot of their life in regrets. So it's kind of, if you get the opportunity to thank them, I think they'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think, you know what, I think the older generation has done a lot, and they've sacrificed a lot, and they actually oftentimes did it without waiting for a thank you. But there is something about the culture within that glorifies the young. So to find a way to still honor the old generation and those who have kind of helped us shape our path, even if though our journey is not complete, because it'll take a lot for us to grow into what we hope to be. I think it's something worth considering. So think about it. But yeah, definitely something worth considering. Okay, thank you guys so much for sharing your thoughts on that one. So let's get back to this idea. So like I mentioned, you know, if someone has made a big impact, it's something to consider, to share with them their contribution, and to obviously it would be it's a gratitude exercise, but it's also more about strengthening social bonds, right? So the stronger your social bonds, the happier and more satisfied with life you will be. And also the stronger you can create a continuity in your narrative, you know, a connection between those who started with you and those who are with you right now and those whom you will guide, right? Because you're a part of a longer narrative. The sound, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Give me 1 second. My apologies. Okay. So my apologies, guys. So yeah, it's important to think of your narrative and how does that fall into like how does the things fall into place. Now, when we talk about connection, it's very important for our well-being to be able to express our thoughts. Again, I think we forget in our culture, people are very vocal with their frustrations, but they're not very vocal with what's going well and the good things. And you know, the thank yous and the thank yous and the appreciative comments and the you know, the moments of appreciation and gratitude, they're just not as many, and people are not very vocal about them, which is very strange. We live in a society that is so blessed, but somehow we find it easier for us to talk about what's frustrating us at work than what went great, right? We find it easier to look at what's missing and share that than what is going well. So it's important for us to reorient ourselves always, okay? When connecting with people, just always think of ways that you can express appreciation for those who invested a lot in your, in building you up, but also think of what values you bring, what skills you bring, what things you have that you can offer other people, and give them liberally, like without limitations. Obviously you have boundaries and you have your own personal limit, but I'm saying, like, learn to give freely, because that's how we kind of weave connection between the generations as well. Okay. All right. So when was the last time you were treated with kindness, and how did it make you feel? Can anyone think of an example? Is no one treated with kindness in this group? That's been kind of rough.
There's lots of kindness. It's just hard to choose which one.
Okay. So think of anything, mandate. It can be small or big. Just give me an example.
I'm curious if it'll be easier for people to think back on unkindness as opposed to kindness. Like, would it be easier to remember? Is that faster? I want to do an experiment on that one.
As much as I don't want to say it, that's an actual thing.
Actually, Morris, they don't have to think about unkindness. They just probably have, like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, what was the last, like, if I were to say, like, what was the last time you didn't forgive? People will be like, you know, like their face will turn right away and they'll re-experience the trauma of the event, right? So that's coming. But for now, we're talking about acts of kindness. So when was the last time you've experienced an act of kindness?
So the other day I had like a life development happen, and this person out of nowhere, he heard it from a friend, and he just called me to congratulate, and without even like doing anything, he said, like, let's celebrate. And so we celebrated. The details of celebration I will not share, but it was a good time. And it's honestly, none of this would have happened had he not taken the initiative.
Yeah, I think there's something very wonderful about people wanting to celebrate your successes, you know, and acknowledging. And that's also why, you know, when we say, like, whenever you succeed, you should savor the moment by celebrations. Celebrations are very important, but to have someone love and care for you enough to celebrate your successes, that's a great feeling. So acts of kindness are essential to building the bonds we need in our social dynamics, and they're great for us when we practice acts of kindness, but they're great for the people that receive them as well, because they lift people up in unpredictable times. So an example was the one that Amira gave earlier about the flowers that she received this morning at work. That was unexpected. That was a surprise, and that, you know, made her day. And, you know, to participate in every opportunity you can to extend kindness, One thing is that it helps soften you to the environment. You're not waiting for someone to do something kind for you to reciprocate. Instead, you accept, that some people will have good days, some people will have bad days. If I'm having a good day, I'm going to see how I can share that joy with other people in acts of kindness, right? So there's a lot in terms of the research about the acts of kindness. It's not something new. It's something that we've known probably for years, but planting seeds of kindness is very important, because by practicing kindness, you reorient your attention to others and you move away from harmful self-focus. And I think we forget that, is that when we are so focused on our needs, we also notice our pain. We also notice our deficiencies. We also notice our shortcomings. But when we orient ourselves to the needs of others, and look at our skills and how we can, with our skills or our gifts, we can kind of cover them and help them or support them or be there for them. What that does is that it shifts our focus to others, but it also shifts our, it re-energizes our hearts in terms of ability to love and express love and receive love. So acts of kindness are very important in that sense. It's kind of like a living testament to our commitment to loving others and receiving love as well in some ways. Okay, so in the research they talk a lot about random acts of kindness, but I do think that everything is different when you add meaning to it. So I think at the very end we'll do a little reflection about Orthodox Christian living and some of these positive interventions and see how things kind of align, because you'll be quite surprised at how it works out in the end. So next one is, what would you say are some of your unique strengths or skills, and how often do you get a chance to use them? So this question is all about bragging. So who here has bragging rights? And we're going to hold off on Morris a little bit. Can we try someone else like Marianne or Christine or Christina? Morris, you can brag after. So bragging rights. Mariana, do you want to try? You just got a job promotion. There's got to be something there.
Quite the humble group, eh?
I know. Marianne?
So in terms of skills, I guess it's interesting to see what other people see in you. So as I was kind of leaving, one of the biggest things that was consistent in all the goodbye messages and the cards and everything I got was just the, I guess the approach that we took during COVID, because we worked in a branch. And so we were going in every day. And so it was consistent time and time again. And even today I got a message from one of my staff saying, thank you again for being empathetic and compassionate during this whole year, despite having the business requirement as well. It was also like the human piece that just came out time and time again in all the messages. So that was just really nice to hear from everyone.
That's great. Yeah. I do find it very wonderful when it seems people are very good at saying very nice goodbyes. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things don't get expressed when you're around, but when you leave, the cards, it's all tears and like.
Completely agreed. Yeah, did not experience any of this, because to me it felt like we were crashing and burning every day.
I was just going to tell you, I bet you were there and you're like, I'm burnt out and there's
I'm like, I don't know if we're
everywhere.
gonna make it through the day. I don't know if we're gonna make it till close, but okay. So,
but it's nice to know that while you were there, you made a difference, and that was appreciated. And I realized this just from my own experience as well in my life, and the goals I've made and the things I've pursued. A lot of the things I've pursued were based on the feedback I got from people. There's some things I have absolutely had no aware they were strength. Like I was unaware that this is even a possibility. So I think it's fantastic when people. That's why I think it's important for people to notice what's happening with other people and to express that to them, because you'd be surprised how we're kind of a bit blinded to our own strength. And when you reflect that on someone, it allows them to better understand themselves and even use that for the future in terms of their goal setting and how they want to live their life. So that's really fantastic. I'm so glad you shared that. Thank you so much, Marianne. Does anyone else, would anyone else like to share their unique strength and see, like, let us know how often they get a chance to use it, or you know, tell us stories of when they didn't even know they had a strength until someone told them.
No problem, guys. The thing is, usually, you know, like being kind is one of the things that actually I think, you know, like it make a difference.
Yeah.
This is one of the good skills that I think we should master it as well.
Yes, definitely. Kindness, definitely. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next one. Why did I ask that question about your unique strength and skills? Well, I think we need to realize that we have all been endowed and gifted with unique talents, and they're different, which is fantastic, because that is great. There's no comparison. You cannot be compared. There's no two people like you. You have whatever skills you have, and whatever gifts you have. And the way you express even your empathy or whatever gift you have is unique to who you are, right? So even the expression of the gifts is different. So it's important to know your strength and you know your unique style of being with other people and what you have to offer, because it allows you to have goals and pursue them. And it also allows you to use your strengths. So if your strength is empathy, you'll find that you'll be leaning more and more towards situation, either in work or service or other situations where you can share that with other people and provide empathy in different settings, and it's appreciated and it's something that lifts other people up. So goals allow you to build a meaningful life where you're intrinsically motivated in your pursuits and giving you a sense of purpose in life. So it's important for you to know your strength. And if you don't know, ask people, what do you think are some of my strengths? Because you'd be surprised what they will say. Sometimes they'll tell you things you never thought about. But self-discovery is so important, because with self-discovery, there's clarity, and with clarity, there's direction and there's meaning, and you're grounded in a sense of purpose. And that's so important for having a full life. And it's so important because it drives away negative thoughts, and it drives away feeling of worthlessness or feeling of inadequacies or feeling of dissatisfaction in general in life. Okay, so to have pursuits and goals is so important. I would say that that it helps you also be more authentic and approach things with an open heart and with more drive, because you're moving towards goals that are aligned with your values, aligned with who you are, right? So that's kind of really important. Okay, so what are some of your hopes and dreams for the future? When was the last time you shared them instead of your disappointments and frustrations? Come on, guys, we're in a pandemic. Someone's got to have some hopes and dreams. If you don't, I'd be so sourly disappointed.
Choose somebody saying, I dreamed a dream from Les Mis.
Jean Valjean.
Well, it was a girl who
the soundtrack of the year. Does anyone? So I'd love to hear from you guys. So, what are some of your hopes and dreams for the future, and have you ever shared them? Can we get anyone who hasn't shared anything yet to join us? And guys, it's no pressure really, but we just love to hear from you and hear your thoughts. It doesn't have to be something big, and it doesn't have to be something super personal. It can be your hopes for your community. It can be hopes for other things. Yeah.
Mata and I'd love to be somebody who's effective and living like a spot, or in like living, like a touch, in, like maybe in the community, something small, or maybe in the whole world. I'd love to do this.
Well, Amir, say that again. I want to hear you clearly. You said you wanted to.
I'd love to be like somebody who can, who can do something, or like who can leave a spot, or who can leave a touch, like you know,
Oh, like
leave a big impact. You know, I don't want
yeah.
to just leave the word just the same way I you know, like I got into it or I left it, you know.
Yeah, you want to leave your mark. You want to leave
Yeah,
your mark.
yeah. Hopefully, it's a good thing, not a disaster. But
No. We all, I think, you know, every human being wants to leave their mark. It doesn't necessarily have to be something big. Sometimes it's be a mark on a person you've mentored or someone you've cared about that you left a mark, right? You've impacted them. So I think that's the humanity in general. People like to leave a legacy, and this legacy doesn't mean something big. Sometimes it just means something that you've touched people's hearts, for example, is a form of a legacy. Does someone else have anything to share? That was great. Thanks, Amir.
Yeah, I think to go along with that, like as well, just to make a positive contribution in some way. That's a good principle to live by, I think, generally, but it's something I'd like to do as well.
Yeah. To be able to leave the world a better place than we've come to have it, right? Like, you know. Yeah. And I do think that's something that many of us I think many of us can see people in our lives who have tried to do that. So that's something very admirable. Tongue-tied. Okay, great. Does anyone else have anything to share? Going once? Going twice?
So I dream to live in a world where everyone can live in peace and harmony with all peoples of walks and creeds in life.
That sounds good. Yeah. Love embodied, basically. Pure love, unconditioned pure love embodied. That's great. I love that. Awesome. Thank you, Simon. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So why did we ask that question? It's important for us to breed optimistic thoughts. And when we say optimistic, we mean that we have to pay attention to what's going on in our mind, and we have to be aware that there are thoughts that take us down a downward spiral, and there are thoughts that bring us up and actually cause an upward spiral, if you can think of it that way. So you have to be able to examine your thoughts before they become your beliefs. So if I thought that, you know, the world is full of miserable people and no one really deserves this or that, and, you know, everybody's selfish, then I'm not going to go into the world and be a source of love and kindness and compassion, right? So I think it's very important to examine our belief systems about what's happening around us, and to think about the future in a way that we can envision something and then work towards it, right? So you have to always ask your thoughts, think about your thoughts, and whenever you pay attention to them, you have to think, do they infuse you with hope, or do they deplete you? Are they good for you, or are they harmful? If you feel a sense of distrust or unease about people in general, is that because you're anxious or because everybody's bad, right? You have to really be able to kind of prune your thoughts, because left unexamined, it can be very detrimental, and that's how people get into like isolation, other problems, right? So a great exercise to cultivate optimism is something known as the best future self. So it's an exercise where you sit quietly and you take 15 to 30 minutes and you think about and write down the best version of your future self. And this is kind of aligned with a practice known as visualization. And they found that people who sit down and visualize, you know, their dreams and their hopes and what they hope to be and how they envision their future are more likely to take the steps toward that dream. Small, meaningful step towards that vision, right? So it's important to really be intentional in the kind of life you want to live, and ruminate. I want you to ruminate on the positive possibilities. I can't believe I'm saying the word the rumination, but really, like, we obsess over so many negative things in the past that we actually, sometimes we stunt ourselves emotionally, psychologically, in so many ways by just getting stuck about something that happened 10 years ago, right? But what if I obsess about the positive possible future possibilities? What can that do to my sense of hope? What can that do to me, the way I feel when I wake up in the morning to start a new day, right? It's so important. So it's a great exercise. It's known as the best future self exercise. And, you know, you can start with saying, like, in 5 years, I see myself doing certain things. So you can talk about actions I see myself doing. You can be specific. I think the more specific, the more it helps you with your goal setting. Or you can be broad. You can do whatever you want, but start writing and thinking about what kind of future you want and what kind of person you want to be present in the world as, right? Okay. So the next one is, have you ever done something that you regret terribly? What have you done to redeem yourself? And were you forgiven? This one is a great one for the breakout room, because I feel like secrets will come out. But I kind of want to know, if you guys you want to do a breakout room, I don't mind. Might this not be a problem with aiming too high or giving yourself? So I'm just going to address Maurice's question about the previous comment that I made. Might this not be a problem with aiming too high or giving yourself unrealistic goals? Okay, Maurice, that's a good question. I'll be very frank with you. Aiming too high for optimism is not bad. Okay, so the idea is that with SMART goals or goal setting in general, they say if you set up a goal that is attainable, so if you set up a goal that is easy and attainable, it's not enough to motivate you towards it. For a goal to work, it needs to be challenging, but not distressingly challenging. So it needs to be a little bit higher than your ability for you to have motivation to push yourself, okay? So if you aim high on your dreams, and then instead of being like, I don't know, a world-renowned life coach or God knows whatever it is you want to do, or the next, I don't know, you know, you might not reach that, but as you're moving towards this higher goal of this, or this higher standard of characteristics, or these things that you care about, whether kindness or generosity or whatever, you're going to have other trials in your life, and they're going to shape you. But because you're looking at this immense goal, you might not reach it, but you might actually reach far enough. You know, so I think dreaming big is nice, but idealizing. So the idea is not to, you don't idealize what you visualize for the future. So you don't get stuck. You don't say it's this or nothing. That's delusional optimism. We don't want to get to that. Okay. We want to be able to have realistic optimism, but we also need to realize that in general, you can dream, but your dreams are, the future is always something that you can shape, right? So you might not have exactly what you've dreamed, but as you're dreaming towards something, you are constantly retuning yourself, because you're learning your skills, you're learning your strength, you're learning different things, right? So your path will change. In 2 years' time, you might have a different dream completely, but at least you're dreaming and you're pursuing something. Does that make sense? It's important not to be rigid. Like, we're not saying you want to be the president, and if you can't be the president, you're going to be miserable. No, that's not it. You have an ambition, dream of that, but always examine your intention and your beliefs about that dream, and if it's still valid or not, and reshape it, but make sure it's a positive future self that you're looking at, whatever it may be. Does that make sense? Yes? Maybe? Okay. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about forgiveness. You got me completely derailed. So have you ever done something that you regret today? And and what have you done to redeem yourself? And were you forgiven? You don't have to give details, but I'd love to kind of hear people's experience with life. This is a really very good life question.
I regret nothing.
Okay, anyone else? We are talking to human beings here. Anyone else? Samar is above us. Christine.
Hi.
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 Share?
Yeah, sure. Can you repeat the question again so I make sure that the answer is according?
Okay, so the question is, have you ever done something that you regret terribly? And what have you done to redeem yourself? And were you forgiven?
Okay, that's really a big question.
Do any part of the question. Don't worry about the 3-part question. Just any part of the question that you can relate to, share your thoughts. Don't get overwhelmed with the way I ask questions. I tend to dig a little bit
What
too
is
deep.
your biggest regret? And what have you learned? And did they forgive you? I'm like, whoa, okay.
It doesn't have to be your biggest regret, but something that you regret. Have you ever done something that you regret?
I think when you're older, it's not doing something that you regret so much as not doing something that you regret. Like when you're a kid, you regret punching that kid who's annoying. But when you're older, you kind of regret, for instance, taking a job opportunity or not going to art school and going to like engineering. So I could see that. I think it's really important to forgive yourself.
Yes.
Because at the time that you made the decision, you were the knowledge that you have and the experiences that you have, you made the best decision at the time of. And then when you're older, you can retrospectively see that you're like, oh wait, I should have done something else. But that's only because you saw the implications and they have new experience and new wisdom to apply to it. And so if you're constantly saying like, oh, I should have done this when I was younger, that when I was younger, you're being too hard on yourself because you know more now than you did in your younger stage.
Okay, I really like the idea of self-forgiveness. I really like the idea of self-forgiveness. I think we dwell too much on our, I should have, I could have, all of those are just, they're draining. So it's kind of like, whatever happened. You have so much opportunity now, but you're not even seeing it because you're caught up in what was missed, right? Missed opportunities. So I definitely agree with you on that one. And yes, my questions are a little bit too long. So thank you for making me. I'm going to amend this for next time.
That's okay. It's okay. I was just
It got overwhelming. I'm trying too much. Okay, so that's regret with regards to life events or things you've done or haven't. So self-forgiveness. Has anyone had a situation where it was interpersonal relationship where they've done something they regret with someone else? Come on, I know you guys all have dark secrets. Someone's got to jump out and share.
I guess I'll say what Sarah said. I regret nothing till this day.
I regret nothing till this day. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. We're going to ask someone who knows you very well and see what they say. I love the confidence in this group, really. You guys don't need this session. I should just close it up. Close up shop today. We're done. All right.
So actually, on that note, I know I joked about it, but do you think there is harm in just having this unfiltered confidence and a lack of regret for anything? Does that become basically you not taking responsibility for your actions?
No, well, okay, look, I think let's just be frank, okay? We all have different personalities and we all care for different things. So if you don't regret anything yet, it's because there's nothing truly that you care about that you've lost or you didn't experience yet. And life is long, you will eventually. But I really hope you don't regret anything. Like, I do think people try to live a good life by saying, I have no regrets. And that's an actual saying people say because they believe that even the mistakes they've made had values, right? Like learning experiences or whatever. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Summer. That's fine. It's not arrogance or overconfidence. It is what it is. It is your experience and you own up to it. So that's cool. That's fine. So just wondering, can anyone think of a scenario or no?
I mean, this is more general for me, but I definitely regret letting like specific or like isolated incidents kind of dictate how I view future, or not even future. Like I see things for what they, I guess, could potentially could look like, and I imagine the worst case scenario based on like an isolated incident instead of seeing that as like just one example of how things could turn out. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. So you're saying that like sometimes you take one situation and you magnify it and you put 10 steps ahead of how it can go bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you could
I guess Yeah, and I guess I use that one incident as like
Yeah.
to determine what things are going to be like in the future.
Yeah.
And I guess for the second part of your question, what have I done to redeem myself? I don't think I've done anything yet, but I do try to keep it in mind, I guess.
Yeah.
Like something I'm actively working on.
Yeah, I think awareness is huge. I think awareness of our patterns, our thinking patterns, our belief system is huge. And it helps us kind of recalibrate. And it's not going to be fast. It's going to take a little bit of a while, and then eventually we'll get faster and a little bit better at it. So let's go to, let me share this with you guys. So we'll go back to this screen and talk about this idea of forgiveness. So it's important. So why did I ask this question? I asked this question for a couple of reasons. One is that it's important to let go of the past and forgive. And that means a couple of different things. Let go of past hurts. If you've been hurt in the past and you weren't able to address that with the person, not necessarily, I mean, sometimes if you wait too long, you can't repair. And sometimes the two parties are not there able to repair, are not agreeing on how to repair something, right? But the idea is that forgiveness liberates you from a lifetime of resentment. So, and this is true for yourself and for others, meaning that when you don't do certain things that you hoped you would do, you don't mount up to what you hoped you would be. Regrets of life choices, regrets of how you let go of opportunities, a sense of resentment for your decisions or whatever. All these things eat up at you, and what it does, it suffocates your sense of hope for the future. So that's one thing. Amira, I'll be with you in a second. And then we know forgiveness liberates you from a lifetime of resentment in that sense. So when it comes to the impact of dwelling on the hurts, we know that over time, people tend to harden. And think of it like, biblically, when we talk about the hardening of the hearts, when you don't forgive, you're unable to see goodness and unable to share goodness because you're trying to protect yourself, or like there's a sense of isolation and protection that sometimes happens. I'm just gonna, Amir, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to ask a question, like what if the decision that I did in the past was a very important decision that my rest of my life is relying on? For example, which school we're gonna go, which subject or which faculty or whatever subject major I'm gonna study, which country I'm gonna live in, which is like, like this big things that I can't go past and correct them.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's like the road you take. You literally take a road and you can't go back.
Or maybe maybe it's not about going back, but maybe, for example, if I studied something that I didn't love, for example, this is just a hypothetical example, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So right now my career depends on it. It's too late, for example, to go back. So how I can make like peace with that? Just an example. So there's a lot many subjects that can be taken and regret and you can go back. But just in case, like if people endured that, how they can make a past, or how they can be flexible, or how can they like do another correction or whatever. All
right, so good question. It goes back to discovering your strength. So whenever I think we come from a very idealistic traditional culture when it comes to career choices, and it explains why most of us go into the sciences and there's not a lot of variety, even though we have different varied skills and capabilities, right? So trust me when I say regret about career decisions is probably like the biggest thing that's probably going on around in our community, not because of anything, but because, what you dreamed of what your profession will be and what it is usually two different things, even if you love it. Like even doctors, after they become doctors, are like, what was going on, right? Life has changed. The pressures have changed. To over idolize a decision is to say that life is over because I don't have this. I have to say this is also how things kind of go sour in like relationship and marriages. To be with someone and say I should have done this, or I should have chosen someone else, that doesn't help the situation, right? So I do think that in general in life, you will make decisions, and that's how you grow. And you have to make decisions. That is
being human. If you don't, you will stand still and you will not take in anything good in life, because you have to risk something to get something back in everything, right? So let's say you take the wrong career choice, or like you make a career choice that's not good for you right now, but to be able to pay attention to your strength and your qualities and what you can do to problem solve, and how can you reshape your future, is something that has to do with you paying attention. A lot of people have gone in certain careers and they've made some creative choices, and they've developed new skills, and it opened opportunities because they were able to link their strength with some opportunities that they saw that they didn't see when they were younger and making career choices, right? So I think we all make choices. They're not perfect. They're not supposed to be. And anyone who thinks that there's such a thing as the perfect career choice and the perfect marriage choice, or the perfect you don't choose certain things in life. You don't choose your parents, you don't choose your children, you don't choose your siblings, you don't choose so much, but your attitude shapes your experience. So it's figure out what's your strength, figure out the attitude you're going to use moving forward, and be open to experience. And I think that will open some doors in general. Okay?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Okay. All right, Demir. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to say, so let's just do a quick thing. So about forgiveness, it's important that we appreciate being forgiven. So if you've ever had someone give you an apology, give them the due respect. It is really hard to apologize. It is really hard to apologize, and it's really hard to say you're wrong often, and to be in that space. So it's important to appreciate being forgiven, and to be able to be open to the idea of accepting. Sometimes there's a lot of pain in the world, and people have regrets in the way they've dealt with each other. But to ask for forgiveness is a gift of grace, and to be able to appreciate forgiveness is important, because it allows you to it gives you a strength to go on and trust in relationships again. And it's important to also be able to, if you can't actually go to someone who you hurt and apologize, it's important to forgive yourself. And don't hold on to things past their time, because sometimes we do apologize and our apologies are not accepted. But I can't carry that burden of that guilt if someone else won't let go. I have to be able to love them still and continue with my life, and forgive myself for whatever errors I've made. We're all growing, we're all learning. We are going to make some mistakes. That's how we grow. Otherwise, it just becomes life becomes a very hard experience. Okay. All right. We're not going to take too long, guys. I know it's a very, I don't want you guys to I know it's a work day, so I'm just going to try to kind of go through the rest, if that's okay. If you guys have any comments, just raise your hands or write in the chat, okay? So let's kind of cover some of the other ones. Thinking about the last activity you've done where you've lost track of time because you were deeply immersed in it, and was it something challenging or enjoyable, or both? So before I'm going to go through some of these things, and then we're going to go back into the discussion mode, just so I can get through some of the interventions for everybody's sake, and then we can kind of comment about them. So get with the flow. So let's talk about the flow. Flow is an actual scientific state that's been studied. It's known as the state in which you lose track of time because you're in deep focus and enjoyment of what you're doing. And when I say enjoyment, it's not necessarily like a high, it's more like you feel, flow is what you get when you have adequate skills and enough challenge to keep you interested. Okay, so think of the last time you read a book, and then you were going to read one chapter, but then you end up finishing the book that night because the story was so good, you were flow, you lost track of time. Think of that time you had a project and there was a deadline and you had to finish it at a certain time, that you were hyper focused because you had no choice. That's an experience of flow. There's something incredibly satisfying about being hyper-focused and uninterrupted, but doing something that's challenging as well. And to create flow conditions in life in general and different things, one way to set it up is set it up the same way you would set gaming. What does that mean? So if you're a gamer, you always, whenever you do something, if you're trying to get better at a skill, if you get good at something, after a while, it gets kind of redundant and boring because you're not challenged. So always increase the challenge. So for example, if you're learning a new language, you can start beginners, but then once you've mastered the beginner level, if you keep doing the beginner level ongoing, it's going to be very boring. You already know everything in it. It's not interesting, but you have to go to the intermediate and you have to go to the advanced. So flow is an experience we can create. There's a great book called Flow, The Science of Optimal Experience, which I thought I had here. I don't have here. Anyways, I do have it, but I just don't have it to show. But that book is great for a different type of activities that give you flow, from physical activity to dancing to martial arts to singing to conversation to crafts to everything, right? Even solitude can put you in flow when you have reflection. So I think those are great activities to be engaged in life in general. So let's talk about spirituality. So another great intervention is participating in religious and spiritual activity. We forget how important these activities are, and we forget how much they add to our lives. And the research is showing again and again that spirituality is so important to our sense of, and religious activities are so important to our sense of meaning and belonging. So it's something that satisfies so many different domains of our being, that to engage in religious and spiritual activities is such an enriching experience. And I'm sure people during the pandemic have felt the difference of not having access to that, right? Okay. I like this question. Can we do this question together? Can you tell me when you are mentally exhausted, what are your unique signs? And what about your body? Are you aware of physical cues as well?
I love that question. I'm willing to start with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
One of the signs that recently, when I was stressed, I noticed is not being able to be on time. Like, for example, if I need to be at work 9:45,
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes just want to work 8:45, so I want 1 hour earlier, for example. Wow. Yeah, so I just, like the 45 thing, I haven't realized, do I need to be 8:45 or 9:45? So if it was 9:45, I want 1 hour earlier, for example, just because my mind was really overwhelmed and stressed and overthinking and a lot of other things. So
you
this
want
small
to
thing,
be there, like you want to be prepared for the war.
So this is one of the things that was a symptom that, maybe I'm stressed, maybe I'm overwhelmed,
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you have to know your signs. You definitely have to know your signs. Does anyone have anything else to share? Yeah.
So typically when I get stressed and or tired, I progressively start to get funnier and funnier. Just I vent out that excess energy with humor and sarcasm.
Oh my gosh, that explains so much. Okay. We'll wrap it out, Sam. I figured it out now.
It's been a long day, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I loved it.
You know what? It's good. You understand your cues. I get you.
Yeah, but That's
true. That's awesome. That's a great example. So those are both great examples of like knowing your body. So it's very important to care for your mind and body. So self-awareness of your physical limitation, your mental limitations, when you're mentally exhausted, how it impacts your muscles and your body is very important. And being able to know your boundaries so you have your limits, so you don't overexert yourself. So there is a huge mind-body connection. Our body sometimes, if we don't process things emotionally, sometimes our body suffers physical pain, tense muscles. All these things can happen if we're not addressing things. So a couple of things I wanted to express, I want to mention. So things like body-mind connection, mindfulness practice or mindful meditation is great. If you guys have never tried that, It's basically just taking 1 or 2 minutes to have a calm sit down where you just don't, you focus on your breathing and you try to bring your attention back to your breathing. And the breathing that's recommended for a meditation is what we call abdominal breathing. So it's lower in your abdominal. That's where you want to put the air. And then that's where you breathe in and breathe out. So it takes practice versus when you're stressed, you breathe from here. You go like this. You're hyperventilating. You don't want to do that. So you have to find calming breathing. So those are practices that help you with your mind and body connection, as well as movements. So just taking a walk would help as well. Okay. And then developing your unique coping skills are important as well. And just to let you know, we're talking about how to figure out your strength. It's important for you to practice some sort of reflection activity. So expressive writing what your thoughts and your feelings are about a situation, help you uncover your underlying motives or motivations for certain things. Sometimes we don't have time to reflect. And when we write things down, we read it the next day or the next week, we get some clarity and we understand ourselves a little bit better. But also it allows us to see the good and difficult situation. When I write down about a situation this week and then I reflect on it the next week, sometimes I say, okay, that was a really tough time, but what did I learn? So when I give myself time to work out the difficult emotions and I go back, I can see kind of like a silver lining to a bad situation. Okay? So it's important to also focus on your unique gifts so you can reduce harmful overthinking and comparison. So let's talk about this one because this is a huge one, and we're going to wrap it up with this one, which is social comparison and overthinking. That is, it's a big one. It's a big one, and it's something that is so prominent in close-knit communities, and it's so prominent. It's so funny because I always thought, like, you know, I find it really strange that people have gone from being close-knit community when there's comparison and, you know, overthinking, because sometimes there's social dynamics and traditions and etiquette in small-knit communities that people break, people notice, and there's all these little red flags. But also, if you think about things like, I find it strange that now people go online to share of themselves, and then to find other people to compare to they don't know. That to me has always been a little bit strange. You know, sometimes you want to escape those pressures. And I think, you know, growing up, sometimes in the Coptic community, there seems to be, you know, when you're younger, there's a lot of pressure, or it seems like there's a certain way of being, right? As you get older, you realize people are diverse and they think differently and they have different paths, but you don't know that when you're younger. But now to be going out to compare yourself with people you don't know, that's even another level of anxiety. So it's important that you focus your cognitive energy on what you have and what you can build of your life, and realize the uniqueness of your experience and how it shapes you. Because what happens with social comparison is that you are so drained as you're trying to reach all these different levels of perfections that were not aligned with who you are. And these people also, like, what you see is that what you're comparing yourself to is just an image, not a reality, right? Because you don't know the inner works of someone's life and the trials they've been through. So I think social comparison is one of those things that is just very, very difficult, and we need to really be careful about it. So can I recommend something? If you are a person who thinks a lot or ruminates a lot or does a lot of social comparison in your mind, try this. Try to, whenever you notice it, you know, try to refocus yourself in affirmation of what you have and what you've been blessed with. Okay, so you don't end up drowning in these comparisons of inadequacies. So to refocus in terms of your gifts is important, and refocus on that, and to tell yourself, you know, these are some things I've been blessed with, and, you know, this is unique to me. And then the other thing is to practice, if you worry a lot and you overthink a lot, there's something known as the worry journal or the rumination journal, which is a practice where you take 30 minutes a day dedicated to just writing down everything you're worried about. Like, it's 30 minutes of worry time. You're dedicating worry time. Now, it sounds like a cruel thing to do, right? Like, why would I actually spend time worrying? Well, you're doing it all day long right now. It's actually uncontrollable right now. If you give yourself 30 minutes, you will actually reduce it exponentially. So what happens in that kind of exercise is that whenever your mind wanders and you're stressing over something, you're worrying about something, or you're catastrophizing about something, you tell yourself, you know what, I have no time for this. I have to get through the day. I'm going to do this later tonight at 9 p.m. before I go to sleep in my worry journal. And you redirect yourself to what you're doing right now, and you redirect the thoughts for later. And what happens with that practice over time, you end up writing less and less things in your worry journal because you realize sometimes your worries are a little bit futile. Okay? So this is the last thing I wanted to bring up to you as we wrap this up. So looking back at everything that was shared tonight, what aspect of our Orthodox Christian way of life mimic these positive psychology interventions? Can you think of any? So I can quickly run through them again, just to give you guys a quick overview, if that helps, because I think we kind of went on and off for different things. But let's quickly run through them again. So the first one, we said, savor the good, okay? Express gratitude, nourish your relationships, plant seeds of kindness, have goals and pursue them, breed optimistic thinking or thoughts, okay? Let go of the past and forgive. Get with the flow in the sense that do things you enjoy and have deep focus dedication to. Participate in religious and spiritual activities because it's good for you, and because prayer, actually, guys, prayer is the only thing that's equivalent to getting a hug physically. Okay, a hug or a kiss or something affection physically. So oxytocin is called the trust or the cuddling hormone, and you get that from feeling love and trust, and that comes often in physical forms, whether it's hugs or kiss or you know, some sort of touch, but also you get it when you feel a sense of strong connection. So prayer is one of the things during the pandemic that is a go, and in everyday life actually, that would do the same thing. And then we said caring for your mind and body, developing coping skills, and focusing on your own unique talents and avoiding overthinking and social comparison. So can you think where in our Orthodox Christian way of life do some of these positive interventions kind of fall? Do we already have this embedded in our traditions and rituals, or our teachings?
Well, I think of forgiveness. I mean, we talk about forgiveness all the time. Jesus talks a lot about forgiveness. So for me, that just stands out. That's huge.
Yeah. Can someone think about so forgiveness? I've always struggled with this, and I want to share it with you guys. We often talk about, you know, you guys we say we should forgive, right? But does anyone struggle with the idea that there's a lot of things that we are in the church talk about that we should be doing, but we don't know how to start?
Yes.
Yeah. Who said yes?
I did.
Christine, okay. Yes, okay. So I'm not the only one. So I think that's why I think positive psychology complements some of these things, right? So I think when they talk about forgiveness exercises, that they talk about imagine how it would feel to forgive someone. So let's say you can't forgive, but imagine you've been forgiven, and you can kind of reminisce on that feeling, and to think how it would feel to be able to give that to someone. That's a start, right? Because it's very hard. I think sometimes we use our mind. We say, does someone deserve forgiveness? We rationalize it. We're like, no, they did this, they don't deserve it. Well, technically, you didn't deserve to be forgiven either, right? So I love positive psychology intervention in the sense that sometimes they give you like a small kind of clue into where you can start to go towards the spiritual goals that you hope to have. So I love that. So that's great. Okay, so forgiveness. Anyone else?
We're pretty big on Thanksgiving and using your talents.
Yes, so Thanksgiving prayer is in every hour of Big Bia. Did anyone ever thought why? Like, gratitude is so fundamental to living an open, loving, kind Christian life that it's there in every hour of the Agbeya. And I think we take that for granted completely. First of all, who eats the Agbeya? Not to say like I can't get a chance to, but I think most of us have memorized. I think the Thanksgiving prayer is one of those ones that most of us have some, like, I memorized at least parts of it. So if you can recite that even privately in the car as you go to work or in the middle of the day, you're grounding yourself in gratitude, right? So that's great. And then Morris, you said the second one was
Using
forgiveness.
your talents.
Oh, using your talents. Yeah, the buried talents. Yeah, that's a hard one. I think that one, sometimes we don't know how to interpret that one. Like from the parable. Yeah, I think people are like, well, yeah, I have talents. Like, what are they? Can you tell me?
From the parable, and when they speak, when the disciples speak about having your gifts, where some people have the gift of prophecy, some people have the gift
Yes.
of teaching, some have the gift of
Yes.
speaking in tongues.
So I think the hard thing maybe is that when we look at it that way, that specific reading in the Bible, sometimes we don't see ourselves in those things, and we struggle to like, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we think, okay, like, that's not unique to me. I think we're very good at rationalizing away our talents, to say that's not unique to me. Why does it have to be unique to you? It's a talent that God gave you. Use it. Use it, and then that will build other things, and that will reveal other strength, right? I think sometimes the word talent gives the idea that something is so unique to me that no one else has it, and only I. Well, use what you have. You don't know what you're shaping. Like, you're still being a person who's being shaped over time. So yeah, that's a great one. Thank you, Morris.
I think it's also important just to read those scriptures, well, all of them, like, over and over again, because you keep getting different things from them. Yes. And then also when you hear different people, like preachers, priests, giving sermons on them or reading other, commentaries, yes, you get different insights. So I think it's important just to keep reading them. Like, I mean, we're supposed to be reading scripture our whole life. And yes, so it's like, there's a lot of layers to it. So
I'll give you a couple exercises that you guys can use that I kind of thought about, because I've been doing this whole, like, trying to figure out this whole spirituality and positive psychology mesh existence for a while. If you're doing meditation practice and you're working on your breathing, so it's one thing to be able to calm yourself and bring back to your breath, bring back your thoughts, your thoughts that are taking you bring back the focus to the breath, right? It's another thing to add layers of meaning through our spirituality. So to do that practice and think, God is giving me his breath of life. That adds meaning and depth to the practice. Also, if you do that same practice and you think we have the Jesus prayer. So we don't use it often in the Coptic community, because I think our tradition has to do with the Jesus prayer in the form of the Matanya, which is not something you can do in the middle of the day. Okay, but in the Eastern tradition, you can do the Jesus prayer as a breathing exercise, where you breathe in, Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, right? And you do it silently, and it becomes a prayer of the heart. So there's just layers of complexity and like layers that enrich one intervention when you add the spiritual piece. Okay, I think I've kept you guys long enough, and I think I'm seeing a few faces that are just dying.
That was awesome. No, it's great, Patty. It's great.
Oh my gosh. So here's my contact. I'm going to just leave this with you, and the book that I got these interventions from for you to look at as well. The book is known The How of Happiness. It's a new approach to getting the life you want. And this is the researcher. She's done some great work on positive affect or positive emotions. So please look into her book, see if you can look at the library or the Audible or whatever it is you prefer. If you need to reach me for any questions, follow up, discussions, contemplations, my email is copsforpersonalgrowth@gmail.com. Again, it's copsforpersonalgrowth@gmail.com. Okay. All right. So thank you for being so patient. I'm sorry I've kept you till 10 after 10. That's kind of cruel for a work day. But I appreciate your time, and it was great having you guys here.
That was awesome.
Thank you, Patty.
I loved it. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Okay.